Hey, it's 12 o'clock on a Monday, which means it's time for Seacoast Business Connections radio show. I'm your host, Mark Miller. You're listening to WSCA 106.1 FM, we're Portsmouth's community radio. Please note that the views expressed on this program are those of the individuals who speak them and not necessarily of Portsmouth Community Radio, its Board of Trustees, members, volunteers, or underwriters. Also, find us on Facebook. That is Seacoast Business Connection, no S.
So,
You guys have a guest.
That's right.
Today,
we got our guest.
Why don't you introduce our guest,
Ben
Eric?
Thayer, the founder, president, CEO of Bayring, as I understand. And
that's right.
Bayring has, we've been
In the
working with
flesh.
Bayring for, 12 years since we've been over here.
I think the funny part is everyone thinks Dave Gibson runs Bayring.
He's the face.
Yeah,
That's
good
why
for
I'm
you.
on radio.
What Ben you don't know is Eric's got a whole list of questions.
Well, no, actually,
I'm glad he does.
Is that your grocery
No,
list?
I had to. I was looking at some background on their website, doing my research.
How come
my
I don't
show
get
prep?
water?
It's my show prep.
I never get water. He's always got two.
Yeah,
He only brings it for the
No,
guest.
I'm good
Sure?
actually.
All
I wouldn't steal your water.
Yeah, you
But
probably shouldn't.
I would start with, Ben, I don't know a lot about your background, how you got into this, kind of if you're from the area. So I don't know, maybe I'll just kind of let you start and give us some background on
Yeah, dude, you're kind of a sleeper actually.
Yeah.
a lot.
I'm just a shepherd. I stay in the background.
Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome though. You guys, I mean, we've been clients of yours for going on 12, 14.
I thought since we've been out
the
here.
beginning, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we did dial up with you at one
No, you were
point.
very, very early clients.
Yeah.
And you guys have been great clients.
Yeah.
But I've known you guys. I've known you, TJ, since the beginning.
Yeah.
Eric, not until recently.
Yep.
Well, I actually grew up in New Hampshire, grew up around sort of in the Seacoast.
Okay. Oh, you
And the way that Bayring was started, it's actually a family. It started out as a family business. My family had a small telephone company that served around Lake Winnipesaukee area.
Okay,
It was
yep.
a regulated monopoly. And so I'd grown up in telecommunications. Never really wanted to get into it because, family stuff. You want to you want to say
The family business.
the family business, but an opportunity came up in '96 related to the some federal legislation that deregulated and allowed competition in the local phone market.
That was a CLEC Act, basically, wasn't it?
The CLEC Act. So
Sorry. Nerdy acronym of the morning right there.
competitive local exchange carrier. That's what we are. So prior to that, while businesses and residential consumers had they had choice as to who would carry their long distance traffic, there was no choice in the local market.
Yep.
You had, if you were in Portsmouth, you had 9X,
Yep.
or New England Telephone, or you had New England Telephone. That was it.
Right.
So we thought we might try to start a competitive local exchange carrier. I knew George Meyer, who was the head of the PDA at the time. I don't know if you guys remember.
I remember the
him.
name.
Yeah. So we just rented a small building, 5,000 square feet, right next to where you guys are. Put in a huge telecom switching switch, which is basically just a glorified router.
Yep.
But we still have that. It's probably 40 by 60.
Still in use?
We're still in use,
Yeah.
and we have some additional switches now, which are about the size of large microwave,
And do
the same
10
thing.
yeah,
and more.
just
Yeah.
as much. Yeah.
So we put that in, and it was a bit of field of dreams. Let's see if we can put this in. If anyone will use us, it was a good time, as you guys well know. Internet boom. People needed to move a lot of traffic, needed to move a lot of bandwidth, a lot of dial-up. We had a small internet company. And just worked out well. I mean, I think
So the timing was good.
Timing was very good, as I think you guys probably
Yeah.
remember. It was good. Pease was a good place to be. We were there early, sort of with you guys, and from there, it's just blossomed. Yeah.
So how did you? I mean, what was the approach to start getting clients? Did you just sort of blanket the Seacoast and work your way out?
Yeah, I mean, the initial approach was we put together this whole business plan. We consulted with these guys in Napa Valley, spent a bunch of money.
Over.
I still have it. It has nothing to do with what we ended up doing.
Yeah.
That was a typical.
Isn't that the way?
We have one of those.
Yeah,
We spent a lot of money on things that are on the bookshelf back in the day. So I think everyone has. If you haven't gone through that a couple of times, you haven't lived.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right. And I still have. You look at what we spent on that, and
Ours is an inch thick. How's thick
I
is
think
yours?
ours is probably
And it's-
right around this thing.
It's actually got a hard binder.
It is,
45.
yeah.
This was like back in '99.
Right.
They're like, you, this company is growing. You should sell this company. We'll put you through a whole package. We're like,
Right.
I don't know what enticed us, but We got this package. Funny thing, years later, we got contacted by like the SEC, some organization. These guys, there was a class action suit against the people that we paid money. We ended up getting money back like 10 years later.
Did you really? That's
yeah,
good.
yeah, and it was like a chunk of it. I was really shocked.
So they just went around to everyone with the same pitch.
That's right. They pitched everybody that this law was changing. If you sell your company, blah, 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 and they got everybody to sign on and pay like a fee. And then years later, I just filled out the paperwork. I'm like, so fill this out. Just
what
see.
stopped you from signing up, though? Obviously, you.
Well, because nothing
really.
They did the package. Like, right now, it's up to you to go and market your, follow the formula. And it's
they
like,
got their money out of doing the package.
Yeah, what stopped us was we actually had a job that we liked, and we weren't looking to sunset the business, and we were young and foolish
and free,
and doing our thing. So you guys are super early now. What I mean, would the family have it being in telco and sort of a managed monopoly or regulated monopoly? I mean, there's this whole thing about queuing you up to run the family. What made you decide? I mean, the SELEC Act is what it is, but what made you decide to go this way versus something completely different? I mean, that was a pretty big leap of faith. I mean, you were the only one around. If I remember correctly, the first few years, there was nobody. There were some Boston firms and New York firms that would pull a T up here for you, but by and large, I mean, you were a pioneer. I mean, what made you make that leap? Because that was a ballsy thing to do at the time.
Yeah. Well, we
or naive, however you want to categorize
is more
it.
like it. We actually had a partner that we started this venture with, and he ended up selling his company midway, very early on, before we even came to Peas. So we initially we thought we had sort of more wherewithal. We could just go in and do this. We had a lot more money. He pulled out. We were going to go into Manchester and Portland to start with, and I've always been intrigued with Portsmouth. I've always thought it was it's just a great community, great business community. Having no idea at the time what was going to happen at Peas or in terms of technology. So I don't know what really drove me to do this. It was just intriguing. It felt like if we can do this at sort of a regulated level, and you have companies, without maligning sort of New England Telephone Company, but they weren't the most competitive, most forward-thinking entity.
Correct.
And it just seemed like there would be a lot of low-hanging fruit if you came in and you attempted to provide very good customer service, brought in decent technology, that there would be some interest. And I think that that was true, but boy, the internet boom just helped.
Really
late,
helped,
late
yeah.
90s. Yeah, that
Well, it's
that
like-
has nothing to do
yeah.
with me. That has nothing to do with my foresight.
Well, it's like we started out to do CD-ROMs, and then all of a sudden the web became very popular.
Exactly.
So that was good timing.
Oh, if we were a CD-ROM company, we would have shut down. August
A month
of
later.
2005.
No,
No, we would have made it.
1995. You mean?
I'm sorry, 95.
We one of the things we try to be at Bay Ring is we try to be function over form. We don't have a fancy dress code, like you guys don't either. But it's right? Obviously,
TJ's
at least one half of the department.
Why don't you?
I'm actually a sales
Put a
guy.
picture on Facebook, Mark, of TJ's outfit today.
Right. Yeah,
Well, I'm curious because so you're laid back. You're in New Hampshire. You guys have a
I'm
good
not
business.
as laid back as my wife just says I'm a complete closet type A, and she's probably right.
Okay. Well, but yet still you're still growing the business. You're pushing into Boston. That's got to bring all kinds of other headaches and things that you could avoid if you said, "Hey, this is nice. Why don't we just kind of stay around this size?" Yet you continue to try to push it a little bit. Why? I mean,
Yeah, well, I'm probably much like you guys. I can't come in and just not do anything.
right.
I can't go home and just not do anything. I have to.
So that added growth is what
Hard to
kind of keeps
relax.
the edge on the company. Keeps
Yeah,
it pushing.
it's a weird. I think that's maybe a weird puritanical New England thing or whatever. There's no sort of pleasure without some sort of pain. I guess.
Yeah. We know.
Yeah, I know.
That's interesting.
That's just kind of who
Well,
I am.
what does that bring though? So I'm sure around here, you can push around into these towns, but as you go to Boston, I'm thinking the competition must go to a whole new level. The other players must. I mean, I got to think it brings on a whole new set of challenges, and you got to be prepared to do that. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, it does. I mean, what Bay Ring has historically been able to do. We've never been completely, build it and hope they come. We're not leveraged. We have no debt. We don't just spend a lot of money and hope it works. So in general, we've sort of grown incrementally, made it pay, grown made it pay. And it's the same with sort of our Boston network. We've lined up anchor clients that allow this to make sense for us.
Your investors are your clients.
You're right.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah. No, we're
Pretty much the same.
we work
type of
exactly
thing,
the same
you
way.
know?
We
Ours
we'd get
literally-
a job, we'd buy some gear.
Yeah, they
Right.
literally
Pay it
were our
off.
investors. We just didn't tell them back then.
Yeah. But it was the
said-
same thing. It was find some
We didn't call it an investment. We said, "Can we get a deposit?" And
find some anchors, buy some gear. Find
Right.
some anchors, buy some gear,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
that's awesome. I
Yeah,
never
so-
knew that about
so
you.
it's a
guys.
very similar thing. We didn't just say, "Hey, let's just build to Boston." We said, "Okay, here's some clients. We'll line them up."
well, I guess in your spare time. So what do you do in your spare time, and how does that? What's fun for you when you're not thinking about work?
Yeah. Well, I've got a family, so that
Yep.
takes up some of my time. Wife and 3 kids.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So pretty busy there.
How old are the kids?
18, 16, and 11.
Wow.
So 1 in college and 2 hanging around the house. What do I do in my spare time? We have an old farm, so I spend some time maintaining that.
Yeah.
Mowing the fields, always therapeutic.
Yeah. That's good.
I also raise bees.
/painful.
I've got a few beehives.
Nice.
Harvest some honeys.
Really?
Kind of cool.
How many
Yeah.
hives do you have?
4, just 4.
How
Started
much-
out with 2.
What do you get out? How much honey are you getting out of
This is the
4
first
hives?
year we harvested. We got about 40 pounds. And we could have harvested again in the fall. We just did a spring harvest, but I thought I'd leave them with their honey so they can get through the winter.
Yeah.
What
is
is
that
that
is
40
that
pounds?
with comb or without comb? Or
That's without comb. That's just
so that's
honey.
spun honey.
Yeah, spun honey. Yeah, they put in a centrifuge and
Yeah,
it's kind of
no.
cool.
All right. Well, we have to wrap things up here
All right.
and usher in the redhead that spins the blues.
Thanks for coming.
Ben, thanks a lot.
Hey,
It was
thank you
fun.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
really
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it.
It's good to
Gracious.
chat with you.
Appreciate it.